Hey guys, Nick here. I hope you're good. I hope you're well. And I want to welcome you to these series and these episodes that I'm going to be doing, dropping non-stop value, non-stop bombs all the way throughout based on all of my life experiences. I'm going to put it all on the table so I can help you and younger, perhaps some older people, navigate their way through the experiences, the failures, the ups, the downs, all of it through I've had. I'm going to keep them raw, uncut, and unfiltered. So there will be times just like that where I probably messed up my words quite a little bit. But I'm okay with that because I want to keep it as real as possible. And I want you guys to zone in and really listen to the value that I'm going to give, because I'm not just going to talk to be heard. I'm going to talk with substance and I'm going to talk with value so that you can ensure you're taking the best possible advice from me and my mistakes and my ups and my downs to help you navigate your way through the world as a young man. So the introduction, this is my first time doing this. I might screw up a few times, so you'll need to bear with me as we go. I'm going to give it to you raw and real. No BS, no nothing. Straight to the point about things, about really important things that perhaps I struggled with when I was coming up through my 20s into the man I am today at 35. Some of you might know me from following me in the past before, and some of you might not. And that's okay, because you're going to get to know me along this journey and along this path while I do these episodes and while I do these recordings. I feel as though I've been really selfish. I've been so selfish that I've had so many incredible life experiences and mentors throughout the way, and experiences and failures, but I haven't shared them with the world too much. And I haven't documented them because I wanted to show you guys only the highlights. And I did that. And it was quite good. And it built me into the man I am today. But there's a lot of behind the scenes things that you guys haven't seen that I've navigated through to become the person that I've always envisioned I want to be. So I'm going to give you tips, tricks, and advice on how to do that. And looking back on doing that over the last 15 years of my own self-discovery, my self-development journey, I just think, man, I should have been documenting this more. I should have been recording this more. I should have been putting it on YouTube and blasting it on social media, because there's so many things that have happened over my time that I didn't share with people because maybe I kind of felt a little bit embarrassed, or maybe I didn't feel worthy, or I just wanted to show you guys, hey, this is the highlights and all it is. But that's not the case. You can't have extreme highs without extreme lows. The only way to make sure the highs are extreme highs is that you've been through extreme lows. And I'm not saying you want to force yourself into that. We want to avoid that as much as possible, but they're going to happen along the way. So be ready for a wild ride, especially if you're a young man. You know, I became the person who I couldn't find when I was in my 20s. I had to figure all of this stuff out on my own. I didn't have someone guiding me or pushing me through to where I needed to be. And perhaps I didn't listen to the right people at the right times. And I didn't take some opportunities, and I did take some opportunities. And I want to help navigate that person, myself, the younger version of myself, to be able to navigate their way through these ups and downs to make sure they live the most fulfilling life there is. So my mission statement is helping younger guys like myself navigate their way through their 20s and 30s to become the man they envision to be. Because every man has that burning desire to be the person that they envision on. We love a chase, we love a challenge, we love a fight. Sometimes we get to a point where perhaps we've gotten a bit soft because we've been hanging around with soft people, or we've been hanging around women our whole life, which is okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And we've kind of strayed from our vision, but deep down, every man just about wants the same things. And so I know what I've always wanted. I've always wrote down, like in a journal, what I've always wanted. But I haven't really known the steps on how to get there. But now that I'm almost 36 years old, I'm looking back and I understand the steps that it took me to get there. And I want to share that with you guys because I want to be the person that I couldn't find, because I believe my younger self is very extremely relatable to the person I am today. He's super relatable, that kid from 10, 15 years ago who couldn't find that big brother to say, yo, this is good. This is not good. Keep at it. Keep doing this. Stay away from this. Do that. And I've made some great decisions and I've made some poor decisions, and I want to share them along the way with you guys. So my mission statement is to help younger guys like myself become the man they want to be, that from the person that I couldn't find. And I'm going to be straight with you guys. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to BS and sugarcoat anything. My intention for this is simple. I'm going to be completely straight as possible to you guys. I want to grow my YouTube audience because this is something I should have done 10 years ago and stayed ultra consistent with it like I'm going to now. I eventually want to grow my YouTube audience into a free community of people that I can really help with the certain topics that I'm going to talk about. I haven't even got to the topics that I'm going to main focus on. I got 4 pillars that I'm going to focus on extremely in detail that I've somewhat mastered for my age. And I'd say I'm probably a little bit further ahead than most people at my age. And in 10 years time, I'm going to be even more further ahead. But I'm much more further ahead than I was in my 20s. And I want to help navigate you guys through that. So again, my intention is to really grow my YouTube channel into something really productive and really positive, but also turn that into a free community of people who really want to grow and learn more. And then eventually I'm going to turn it into a paid community. I told you, I'm going to give it to you straight. And the paid community will be more one-on-one with me rather than talking in generalities. I can actually listen to people's exact stories and navigate from my own experience how they can go. It's almost like a big brother that most guys don't have. So there's my intentions for doing these episodes and moving forward about where I'm trying to get to and where I'm trying to help you guys to get to as well. And I have 4 pillars, like I said, for these episodes. And I want to tell you what those guys are. And the first pillar I'm going to go through with these episodes is fitness, right? Those that know me know that I've been coaching for a very long time. I first stepped in the gym over 20 years ago and I've been ultra consistent throughout. So I know about fitness and gym and nutrition and all of that stuff more than most people. And I've helped thousands of guys completely transform their lives through fitness. So that's going to be one main pillar of the subjects that I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to give away all of my knowledge from the last 20 years that I've learned from self-discovery, from mentors, from everyone around me, from all my experiences. And I'm going to put it all on the table so you guys can take each piece from it so you can improve your own fitness. I've helped hundreds of guys become champions in men's physique. I don't just help guys when it comes to fitness lose like 5 kilos or women lose a dress size so they can fit into their wedding dress. I'm not interested in that. What I want and what I'm interested in is helping guys go from perhaps a couch potato to a statue, a Greek god statue. And I've proven that hundreds of times with so many testimonials and transformations that you cannot deny that I know what I'm doing and I've been doing it for a very long time. So all of that accumulated knowledge, I'm going to put out to the world so you guys can have it all. Because again, like I said, I've been selfish in hiding all this stuff and just dispersing it to my clients and helping them get ahead. I want to help more and more people completely transform their lives from sitting on the couch, from doing dumb shit into an absolute statue, because nothing, literally nothing feels better than looking chiseled like a Greek god and being confident taking your shirt off, and it oozes into every part of your life. So this is a really important pillar that I'm going to run through with you guys and I'm going to teach you. And I'm really excited about that because I have so much knowledge inside that I want to share. The second part of it is mindset. Okay. A strong body equals a strong mind. Yes. But there is other elements to it. Getting a strong body will help strengthen your mind, but you also need a strong mind to build a strong body. So these two are just going to feed off each other. And something I'm very well known with for the clients that I've worked with is having an extremely strong mind and being able to share mindset tips and tricks to get those people to where they want to be with their physiques, which completely transforms their mind. Because to go from one extreme to another, it's not easy. You have to have an iron mind. And that's built over time. That's built over surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right networks, being disciplined. And I'm going to teach you guys how to do that through your mind. So mindset is a massive, massive, important pillar that I'm going to share with you guys on how to make sure that you can get into extreme shape, but also not just get into extreme shape. I want you to be confident as hell that you can achieve anything, because if you can go from a couch potato to a Greek god, that's a pretty important pillar to strengthen your mind, but that will ooze off into other areas of your life so that you will be an iron mind. And I learned this myself through my own experiences. I've been the video game kid, you know what I mean? And I've always been a sporty kid, but I've also been a video game kid. But it wasn't until I really took my fitness seriously and I entered my first bodybuilding competition that really taught me the discipline. And I competed pretty much like a monk for 6 years straight. And I never really missed meals, and I lived completely, alcohol free and all that sort of stuff, which you guys will learn along the way. But that discipline propelled me to get ahead in every area of my life. I built my fitness along with my mind. Okay. There's two pillars that I'm going to talk on. The next one is business and making money. This is something I've never really shared online, and I'm really excited to do so because I've learned from some incredible mentors over the years and invested in some incredible, incredible mentors, which has really helped propel me. But, who am I to talk about business? I'm not pushing Lambos yet, but it's like I've done over $1 million in online coaching sales. A lot of guys I've worked with, I've helped by default build their own wealth from online coaching sales. And not only just that, in other avenues as well. I've helped employees that I've worked with make more money from commissions. And I've taught them how to do that. And I've taught them how to angle themselves so they can have the oozing confidence and speak well so that they can navigate their way to make more money, whether that's online or in their job. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee. I know we see on social media all the time, it's like, you got to be a boss, you got to be a business owner, you got to be this, you got to be that. You don't have to in order to make money. And I'm going to show you ways on many, many different avenues and many different sort of ways to interact and network and talk with people about how to make more money, but also how to be a really good business owner. Again, I've done over $1 million in sales online. Now, for some people, it's not much. For others, it's a lot. Actually, for most people, it's a lot. However, don't think that way, because let me give you an example. $1 million online can sound like a lot. However, think about your average lifetime customer value, your LTV, right? Let's say for me, it's just shy of 2,000 USD. How many clients would I need to make $1 million USD? Let's say my average lifetime customer value is 2,000 USD. I'd need 500 clients to make $1 million. I've worked with more than that. Okay, so it's not unachievable, but it does take time, patience, and consistency and a relentless pursuit to work hard to get to where you want to be. Everyone talks a big game, but can they back it up? I can. I can back it up through fitness, getting absolutely inside out shredded and holding that year round, also winning championship shows. I've done that with my mind, and I've proved that time and time again with myself and with others. And I've made quite a substantial amount of money online. And I want to share those 3 pillars with you guys and everything I've learned. And the last one's a bit of a fun one. And I might sort of keep this more to my closed community. But my younger self was someone who struggled attracting women. Now I don't have that problem because I've been through everything you could imagine with women, from incredible highs to incredible lows to heartbreaks to attracting some of the most beautiful women in the world. I want to give tips and tricks on how to attract the woman that you want, or women's. And I'm going to go through that from my own experiences of ups and downs with that. And I can't wait to share all of that with you guys because that's going to be a pretty wild ride. So The four main pillars is fitness, business, mindset, and dating, attracting the women that you want in your life, and how to avoid the ones that you really should be avoiding, because that can be a tough one as well. So who am I? And who am I to talk about this stuff? Well, I've kind of gone through a little bit, and those that have been following me for a while will know what I'm about, but I'm going to open up in a way I've never opened up before with these episodes, and I'm really excited to do that. I'm Nic. I'm 35 years old. I've lived in 3 countries, so I'm quite well-traveled. I grew up in Australia up to when I was 20 years old. Most of my 20s, I lived in the UK. And for the last 5 years, I've been living in Thailand, almost 6 years now. So I've lived quite extensionally across the globe. And it's really opened my mind so much to see other different cultures. And I imagine myself when I was living in Australia, growing up there, if I had have just stayed where I was in my city, in my country, the way I thought back then never would have changed. And I never would have grown into the man that I am today. And I do think back sometimes and think, I wonder if I had have just stayed in my country and stayed in Australia, would I had this mind? Would I have built this body? Would I have made this money? Would I live life on my terms, which I do now? And I can only think the answer would be no way. I reckon I'd be miserable personally. And that's no offense to anyone. Everyone's life is different about what they discover and what they want as success and happiness and achievement and fulfillment. That's all up to you to decide, but you've got to know what you want. So I've won big, I've lost big, I've come back stronger, and I know how to bulletproof your mind so you will never lose again, because I've lost so much more than I won. And let me tell you a story. You know, when I was growing up, I played on a football team, and I was probably 7 years old when I started, and I played up in under 9. So I was 2 years below where I was meant to, but I was able to play up with the under 9s. And at a young age, kids are a lot bigger and stronger than you. So I used to just get knocked around every game. I'd hardly get a kick of the ball. I was slow, you know, but that taught me hard knocks. It taught me resilience. And I kept showing up to every training, and I kept showing up to every game, subconscious of it at the time. I mean, I didn't know where it was leading or anything like that. I just did it because that's what you were meant to do, right? By the time I was at the right age limit for under 9s, I was put into like a captaincy role. And our team used to lose by like 200 points every game. But because I was sort of the most experienced and the biggest, I was like the defender. And so I'd watch the ball go over my head 50 times plus a game, where we would get absolutely rinsed and demoralized every game. And it hurt because I was the leader in that team. And suppose the kids sort of had to kind of look up to me in a way, but everyone would be sad and pissed off, and we'd lose every game, and it hurt. And I could have done what everyone else did, and they went to other teams and joined other teams that were winning just because they were losing, but I didn't. And some of the kids I played with did leave and go to other teams, but I just stayed where I was. And I don't know why. Perhaps it was an influence from my family to say, just stick at it, and I did. Anyway, that went on for a few years, and I lost, but I got a little bit better. And then we lost again, but I got a little bit better. And then we lost again, but I got a little bit better. And I didn't really know this at the time, but looking back at it is probably a real cornerstone in my life, because then I remember when we got to like under 15s, we made it to the final, like the final playoff. And again, we lost. And that probably hurt more than those years of losing, because we took it so far that we lost again. At the same time, I was playing basketball, and I was probably the worst when I started. But when I got up to a certain age group of, you know, because I was resilient, I wanted to win more than anything. I've got this competitive, I think we all do. We've got this competitive fire within us. And so, you know, in basketball, I was never the best, but I sort of pushed myself and trained myself so hard to become one of the best. And when I got up to under 18s, we was put into this team that we'd never played together before. We were completely dysfunctional, but I had my eyes set on winning. And because I'd been in leadership and captaincy roles before, I was never the most skillful, but I knew how to get the best out of people. because I'd always been in a leadership role, and I could see certain areas where people needed a raise. I'd see certain areas where people needed to be told, yo, come on, pull your finger out. And so I was quite good at that. And so that was my year. I think we won our first game, and that was my year that I thought, do you know what? We have to win the grand final this year. And I took my notebook out. I wrote in my notebook, we're going to win the championship this year. And we got through all the way to the finals. I think we might have lost 2 games out of about 20, and we ended up winning. And so I don't think if I had all of those losses early on in my sporting career that I would have ever come round to winning later on in my career and understanding the feeling of how it is to win and how it is to lose constantly. I think when people win early, it's actually a disadvantage to them because they get a bit complacent, and when they lose, they don't know how to act. I've seen it before with bodybuilding competitors that I've coached. They've won their first ever show. They might have won their second show, but then in their third show, they came 5th and 6th. They can't handle it. And it's not a them thing. It's a human thing because it's human nature. Whereas I started off losing, but I got better. And then eventually we ended up winning. So having that feeling of winning and then having that feeling of constant loss taught me how to never lose at anything again, because I've built up that pain threshold to ensure that no matter what endeavor I do, whether that's sports or business or anything like that, I will never lose because I will work harder and more consistently than anyone out there. And I challenge you, come and bring it on. Like, I've got people challenging me in business right now, but they're losing and they won't win. They might as well just give up because no one will outwork me. No one will be smarter than me. And I'll make sure, because I've got this competitive edge inside me, no matter what, I will win. Losing taught me how to win. Don't fear failure. This is what's going to make you into the man that you're becoming. The man that you're becoming, you need to live as the man you want to be. Live as him right now. And eventually he will become into fruition of what you're trying to achieve. That vision you had of the person you want to become, if you start living that way right now, you'll bring it on. Because you know how people, you kind of think with goals, visions, and dreams, oh, I'm going to have that in 10 years' time. In 10 years' time, it's still going to be 10 years away because you're constantly pushing it away. But if you live in this mindset of, I have this now, and you live like that every day, you'll have it much quicker than you know. Because you're probably only one step, one decision, one meeting, one workout, one decision away from getting that thing that you want to have in 10 years. But if you think like that thing you want to have in 10 years is 10 years away, in 10 years' time, it will be 10 years away. Say that fast 3 times. So these are a lot of things, a lot of lessons that I'm going to teach you guys along the way from myself. You got to take risks. These are tough. These are tough, calculated risks. But I believe when you walk around with your eyes open in the world, there's always something telling you something. Like, think back about a moment in time where things lined up. You got exactly the thing that you wanted because you took that risk to make it happen. But at the time, you weren't sure if you should take that risk. But something just came up in front of you. And I'll give you a top of the head sort of small example of this. In 2020, that's when I moved to Thailand. One of my goals when I was younger, I've got a goals book. I'll talk about that another time. But one of my goals when I was younger was to move to Thailand. And I moved out here for 3 months in the beginning of 2020, and it was coming towards an end, and I didn't really know what to do. And I broke up with my spouse at the time, and I was a little bit lost. And should I go back to England? Should I go back to Australia? I don't know what to do. I was making money online. I was doing okay. I wasn't doing amazing, but I was doing pretty good. And then I was walking along a beach, right? And it was literally empty, this beach. There was nobody else there. I don't know how this happened, but this is a true story. And in the sand, as I was walking along the beach, someone had written into the sand with a stick, Thailand 2020. And I just stood there and I looked at it and I thought, And then the water came above it, over it, literally crashed over my feet, over the sign, and then swept it out to the ocean. And I just remember, I've still got a photo of it in my phone. I just remember standing there looking at it and it swept out to the ocean. I thought, that's my sign. I should stay here. So I want you guys to constantly look for signs in your life, because I feel like there's always something telling you where you need to go and where you need to be. But you've got to position yourself and keep your eyes open for opportunities. I think people are just they don't look out of their peripherals. They just look straight ahead and they don't see the signs. And yes, there's things that you need to ignore and block out and sort of stuff, but have a look around. If you've got a decision to make, when there's tough life decisions to make, I just go about my day, don't make a rash decision, and I just wait for there to be a sign. And that sign will usually tell me, yes, I should take that risk, or no, I shouldn't take that risk. And your gut instinct is always pretty spot on. And if it isn't, it opened a door to another avenue. So don't ever forget that. And I'm not trying to just, jargon you with a bunch of hocus pocus magic sort of stuff. And if you had said this sort of stuff to me like 10 or 15 years ago, I would have laughed at you. But after experiencing these things and understanding of what you put out there and what you see and how you perceive your reality is what you're going to get. And this is what's going to propel you forward into the areas that you want. I've positioned myself well in certain areas. You've got to position yourself well in order to get opportunities to come your way. A lot of people have said to me, Nick, you're so lucky. And it's like, no, I'm not. I've just positioned myself well to create opportunities. Example, top of my head example. When I first moved to Thailand, and I run bodybuilding shows now in Thailand. And when I moved here, I looked around at the bodybuilding scene and I thought, I've been through this. Athletes were telling me that the shows aren't great and there's not many shows. And I looked around at the gyms, there's a lot of athletes and things like that. And I wanted to put on a bodybuilding show here, independent. While I was talking about putting on that bodybuilding show, the owner of PCA, the second largest organization in the world, reached out to me about putting on a bodybuilding show in Thailand. Talk about luck, talk about opportunity. I never put anything on Facebook. I never put anything out there, but it's the energy that you perceive off to the world is the opportunities that you're going to create. If you think that's some hocus pocus, go about your business, no problem. You're just leaving more opportunities for people like me who are open-minded to it to grab. So there's an example of it, and there's many more examples that I can give along the way. But you've got to look out for signs and opportunities will come. And then should you take those opportunities, again, you need to look out for signs. Everything is an energy exchange. The energy you put out to the world is what you're going to get back. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. Don't ever forget that. Your response is everything. You create your own reality, but it takes time. It doesn't just happen one time. It happens with a repetition and time and consistency of doing this. Don't ever think that you're someone, but I did that once and that didn't work. Do it 100 times and tell me it doesn't work. And then we can talk. But you've got to keep your eyes open for opportunity. And that's what's going to propel you forward more than anyone else. Everyone says I'm in competition with myself, and you should be in competition with yourself to get better. But I want you to know everything that you want, somebody else wants also. So don't ever forget that you've got to focus on your mission, but understand that mission that you're on. Other people, one, they probably don't want you to get to that mission because it probably makes them feel a little bit insecure. So make sure that you're focusing on that mission, and people are going to try and spring you off target along the way. But if you really stay visioned and focused on that mission with time and consistency, you'll get exactly to where you want to be at the top of that mountain. Every failure I've had is a lesson. Sounds cliche. I can't think of any time that I've failed and it hasn't brought me into another avenue or getting me somewhere better. You've got to be not afraid to fail. We've heard Arnold Schwarzenegger say that, don't be afraid to fail. But you've got to fail in order to succeed. You got to almost fail your way to success, but move like a champion. Every failure needs to be a lesson. You can't let failure hold you down and bring you down, because that's where you're going to stay. The energy you put out is the energy you're going to get back in return. And something that's really important, oh man, I heard this so long ago and I've heard so many people recycle this. And I never really got it until I had to get it. And that might be the same for you. I'm going to tell you this now. No one is coming to save you. We've all heard that line from somewhere, from somebody. And you'll only understand that in that moment where no one is actually there for you. Another story. I remember a few years ago, I hit my low point. Everyone's hit a low point. Don't pretend like you haven't. No matter who you are, you've hit a low point. And that's a good thing, right? In the moment, it feels like a horrible thing. My low point, I was broke. I was out of shape. I was miserable. Girlfriend didn't respect me. The list goes on, okay? And what I thought was, if I just give everything to everyone, when I need it, everyone will give back to me and we'll all excel and we'll all propel together. That's not the case, and it's human nature. It's not that humans are bad, it's just human nature. If you just give all the time, you're going to eventually run out of things to give. And when you've got nothing left to give, don't expect people to come and give back to you, because most likely they won't. And it's not that humans are bad. It's just the fact of reality of human nature. And if you can understand that, that's fine. So what I always say is, giving to people is the happiest thing and the most fulfilling thing that you can do. But if you can't give to yourself, you can't give to others either. Becoming the best version of yourself is the best gift that you can give to the world, because if you become the best version of yourself, it creates a path for others to do the same. You know, I've seen people complain about others stuck in this rut, and just they try and sort of cuddle them all the time. And when they do that, they're kind of falling into their energy. So they're bringing themselves down, and eventually they're just going to be on that level also. Think of any time you've had a negative conversation with someone who's spoken like, oh yeah. You know, when you speak to someone, it's just like, oh yeah, man, like my car broke down and, you know, I've got no money and like, yeah, my girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. How do you feel after you speak to those people? You feel almost like, ugh, and you're stuck and you go into that energy, right? But if you're around people who are go-getters and positive, you feel good. You feel inspired. You feel like you want to move forward. What I'm saying, guys, is become the best version of yourself. And that way you can give so much more to the world and the others around you. And I think that's where I made a mistake quite a few years ago, is that I gave everything to everyone else. And when it was my turn to receive back like I thought I would, it wasn't the case. And it wasn't because humans were bad. I just didn't know any better. And so when I realized, no one's coming to save me, man. I got to save myself. And so I went to work. I looked in the mirror. I was very disappointed in what I saw. But you know what I thought? I looked in the mirror and I gave myself that little smile. I know what I can become. Tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm going to do 30 minutes of cardio. And at that time, it was a lot. That was like, that was going to gas me, man. Now I could do it with my eyes closed. And I did it. And I felt good. And then I ate some healthy food. And then I got in the gym. And then I wrote down my plan of how to create where I was at and where I wanted. And I got so pissed off when I looked in the mirror. I couldn't believe the state of myself from where I got to. And when you get to that point of being honest with yourself and staring in the mirror and not liking what you see in all aspects of your life, that's your low point, and that's your rock bottom, and that's your excuse, and that's your moment to then fight forward, to get ahead, to become the person you say you want to be. You know what the problem is though, guys? Most of you look in the mirror and you just look away. Even if you're not happy with it, you accept where you are. Stop it. I want you to just look in the mirror and almost be disgusted in what you see. because that is the pain that's going to drive you to become the person you want to be. All right, what else are we going to talk about today, guys? Now, I'm going to talk a lot about networking. I've got a really powerful network of years of meeting and living across different cities and traveling and across different countries. I think networking is super, super important, but you got to be careful about where you put your energy again, because you can put your energy into people that perhaps are stringing you along, perhaps they aren't who they say they are. And I'm not saying networking in just like using people. Like there's a lot of people that I'm inspired by, but when I meet them, I don't really like them. So I don't really connect with them. So I don't continue with them. But then I've also got a network of really good, influential, positive, successful people that I really like as a person. So I'm not just going to network with people just because they have a certain thing. I actually genuinely like the person. And you guys have got to make sure that you're on that same level, but you've also got to be able to offer value if you want to network. You can't just expect people to want to hang out with you because you are who you are. You've got to be able to offer value to others. And that's what's going to help you bring up your network. And surrounding yourself with a good, strong bunch of people, especially men, right? A good, strong bunch of men who are going to hold you accountable, who are going to call you out on your bullshit, is one of the most powerful things that you can do. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, but make sure you can offer something of value to someone. You can't just turn up and go, I'm Nic, you should hang out with me and you should spend time with me. And no, you have to be able to offer value to someone in order for them to spend time with you. So we're going to go into a lot about that. I'm almost wrapping up here, guys. I really appreciate you spending this really quality time with me. I also want you to know that when you go on this journey of self-development in the main areas that I'm talking about, the 4 main pillars, if you didn't know what they are, go back and watch that. But when you start to sort of level up and take your life and take your self-development more seriously, it can get a bit lonely along the way, especially when you're in the process. Because what tends to happen is when you decide to go on this journey of self-development, you kind of pull yourself away from the people that perhaps you grew up with or perhaps you're friends with, but you're not yet the person that can attract the people that you want to be like. So there's kind of like this gap in the middle, which could last 5 to 10 years, maybe shorter, maybe more, that's quite lonely. So you've got to be weary of that. I remember when I first moved to the UK in my early 20s that I literally had no friends. Like I moved there with one of my best friends, and still to this day, we don't speak a lot, but I still consider him one of my best friends. And when we catch up, it's like, we've been hanging out every day. But it was very lonely for me. I moved into a house of like 15 people, 5 bedrooms, 3 or 4 people per bedroom. It wasn't fun, and it was like the middle of winter. It was freezing, all that sort of stuff. But all these people, they weren't. I was on a journey of self-discovery and they were on a journey of partying. I couldn't relate to these people. So these people would constantly like just bash me behind my back. But I was so focused on my vision that I didn't care. And I thought, you know what? Good. One day I'm going to show these people. And it's interesting because sometimes not those direct people, but some people in the past that can relate to that story, they'll reach out to me and kind of want to work with me and kind of teach me, like ask me like, oh, how did you do that? Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so well. But at that time it was like, oh yeah, Nic's a loser. And I'm like, I'm going to show you. I'll show you. And so there can be a bit of a lonely gap. And now where I am, I've sort of created a really strong and powerful network of men. And I've sort of unlocked, and they introduced me to their friends, and I can offer value to them in certain areas. And it's interesting meeting certain people that I want. But I probably spent maybe an 8 or 9 year period, which was quite lonely. Women don't really want to be with you. You're not the man. You're still quite a young lad. You're not established, you haven't made a lot of money, maybe you're not in the best shape, you haven't got your fitness up, your mind's not that strong, women aren't that attracted to you. And so it's kind of a lonely gap. But as long as you know that you're going to get through this to become the person you want to be, and that then you're going to attract those network of people that you want to be with, then sky's the limit, man. But you've got to be able to push through that lonely period. As long as you know it's going to be lonely, and when you feel that way, you kind of feel it and you smile and you think in a few years' time, I'm going to be the man. And these other people, whatever. I don't really care where they're going to be. So I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Some final thoughts. Look, no BS, no sugarcoating. I'm going to give it to you straight, raw, and real. I've given you some little insights into what this is going to be about. Remember, guys, the 4 main pillars is fitness, mindset, business, and dating. These are the things that I'm really going to focus on. Why? Because I want to help the younger version of myself become the man I am today and beyond. And those are the 4 key factors that I needed more information on in my early 20s because I couldn't find a big brother that was not willing to, but I couldn't find a big brother that would guide me through those areas, of which I really wish I had. So I want to be that person that I couldn't find in my early 20s. And if you want to win, it starts with ownership. It starts with taking responsibility for your own life, looking in the mirror, being not happy with where you are, and having that pain and motivation and channeling it into the right area to become the person you want to be. I'll see you on the next episode, guys. Bye for now.